Tea Trade Association. So we have Kenya, who had a production of 570 million kilos in 2023. Uganda 65, Malawi 43, Rwanda 38, Tanzania 26, Burundi 11, Ethiopia 7.2, Cameroon 5, DRC 4.3, South Africa 2.9, Mozambique and Mauritius doing 1.7 and 1.3 respectively. Madagascar has not been mentioned there in terms of the kilo that they provide, but we know they actually do tea production because they are our members. So Kenya contributes 71.47% of the made tea in Africa. But then Kenya is the third largest tea producer of CTC teas in the whole world. The unfortunate part is we export majority of it. We only consume, from the figures given, 8% of the tea that was produced. And Kenya continues increasing its production of tea, with 2024 productions reaching 599 million. So it's a huge jump of around 29 million within 1 year. Majority of the tea is sold through this Mombasa tea auction, again, as I've mentioned, and the auction itself sold about 482 million kilos in the year 2024. So looking at the prices for auction, we have various auctions in the whole world. Kenya is the largest, or rather Mombasa is the largest tea auction in the whole world in terms of the pricing. Sorry, in terms of the volume. So Kenya leads the whole world in the auction centers, but we have other auction centers in the whole world. There's an auction center in Sri Lanka. There's an auction center in India, although India has a lot of auction centers, so it's not one auction center. Then we have an auction center in Mombasa. We have another auction center in Malawi and Tanzania. So the Malawian and Tanzanian tea auctions are rather small auction centers. The others are now major auction centers. But it's worth noting, if you look at the price that I'm displaying right now, the Colombo tea auction prices look to be on the higher side, but the Colombo tea auction mainly deals with orthodox teas compared to the teas that are in Mombasa auction. Mombasa auction mainly deals with black CTC teas, but we are planning to introduce the orthodox tea auction from around June this year. So that's in our future plans. Then the Kolkata auction in India also does majorly orthodox teas with a blend of CTC teas. So you can see their curve. They've been ranging from an average price of 249 in 2015 to 352 in 2023. The Mombasa tea auction mainly does black CTC teas, and black CTC teas have been ranging from a price of 273 to 207 in 2023. So these are the prices per kg of made tea that is being sold in the trade itself. So Kenya itself has various markets that they are able to export the teas to, and various markets have various requirements. Our major exporting country in 2023 was Pakistan with 42%, Egypt with 15%, the UK with 8%, UAE with 6%, Yemen 5%, Iran 3%, Russia 2%, Afghanistan 2%, Sudan, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia 2%, and 11% to others. Just an update, 2024 figures have just been released, and Pakistan has actually dropped. Right now, Pakistan is doing 35%, with Egypt doing 14%. So Pakistan and Egypt take up 49% of the tea that is exported from Kenya, which poses a huge risk to any industry itself. So major markets have different requirements in order for the tea to be sold, and majority of them have certain compliance certificates that are required. But before compliance certificates, there are other documents that you actually need in order to export tea from a Kenyan perspective. The major documents are with the regulators themselves. So we are talking about KEPHIS, we're talking about KRA requirements, we're talking about KNCCI requirements, phytosanitary certificates. Those are the certificates that you require in order to actually export. The certificates and organizations that you probably need in order to have the certification or be able to export are close to the figure of 36 in total. So that information can be provided. But the certificates that you actually need to reach into these markets are mainly Rainforest Alliance certificates, fair trade, ISO certification, and organic certification. Majority of these certifications are not required by the exporter, but are mainly required by the producer. And the producer will give you these certifications in order to help you export the tea. Interesting that Rainforest Alliance features there because Rainforest Alliance was introduced by the major tea brand, that's Lipton, was introduced in Africa by Lipton Teas, mainly meant for the UK markets. Fair trade, again, is mainly meant for the European markets. ISO certification is a certification that is for food safety, so it's meant in almost every country that you export to. They will probably require an ISO certificate. Organic certifications, now this is where you're going to specific market where probably you're going to Iran, you require GMP, you're going to the US, you require an FDA. So depending on the market, the organic certifications might be a little bit different. The other document that you might require is a certificate of origin. A certificate of origin is one of the documents among the 32 that I was mentioning that you'll actually require when you're exporting the tea. The certificate of origin shows the authenticity of the tea. It says that the tea is really from Kenya. It authenticates the tea and therefore makes the market be able to accept the tea as a Kenyan product. These certifications have a huge impact on the pricing and buyer preferences. Buyers in the European market, the UK markets, will always want to have a rainforest certificate, so a Rainforest Alliance certificate for that tea, showing that the tea has been grown in good condition. Same as the fair trade, where they will want to know whether staff were treated well, what is the gender prosperity in the other place. So some of these certifications actually have an impact. The main impacts for the farmer will be for fair trade. Once you buy a tea that is fair trade certified, you are assured that the farmer at the end will be able to benefit through premiums, and the premiums affect the actual pricing of the tea. Apart from that, we have markets which are price sensitive. So with the certifications, you will be able to sell in that with that clients at an agreed price, which is above the auction price. So, for example, you sold your tea at $2. You're trying to export to a certain clients, probably the US or UK. With their conditions, they will say, based on the way we have tested your tea and our preference, we will buy your tea for at least $2.50. That's $2.50. So these certifications help in the buyer preferences in some of these markets and are able to boost farmer earnings and are able to boost tea sales for an exporter. So when you need to actually store some of these teas, there are various warehouses that you have to consider. Because warehousing ensures the tea quality and traceability of the tea. In Kenya or in EATTA, we recognize warehouses in 3 categories. There's a producer warehouse, transit warehouse, and a buyer warehouse. A producer warehouse is a warehouse that stores teas from producers who are domiciled in Kenya. A transit warehouse is a warehouse that stores non-Kenyan teas and also stores teas that are grown within Kenya in the EPZ factories. So teas that are stored in the EPZ factories in Kenya are also stored in the transit warehouses, which are bonded warehouses. After you have bought your tea from from the auction or from the producer themselves, your teas move from the producer's warehouse and go to the buyer's warehouses. So buyers have their own warehouses, and the main thing they do in their warehouses is either blending or consolidation for shipping. So depending on the client, they will decide which warehouse they feel their teas should be stored, but some of them still opt to continue storing at the producer warehouses. So it's up to the buyer to decide which warehouses fits the requirements. Warehouses must have temperature control, humidity, so that the teas are stored in a good condition. Tea must be stored in a dry, not humid place so that it doesn't attract water. The roofing must be ideal so that there is no leakages. Also, termite infestations are among the things that are looked at in the warehouses. The warehouses also have certifications for ISO that are needed in order to operate. Also, the laws that have been introduced in the warehouses include forklifts, how they are used in them so that the tea that is there does not attract smoke when they are being transferred. So when you buy your tea and you store in the warehouses, you will require to ship the teas. When you require to ship the teas, you'll have to use some of the shippers who are available. The major shipping lines that handle tea exports in Kenya are Maersk, MSC, CMA, Evergreen, and Hapag Lloyd. But there are very many other shipping lines that actually dock in Kenya. But these are the major ones who are actually handling tea exports all over the world. The main factors that affect the efficiency of this shipping are post congestions, freight rates, and custom clearance process. A case study is the impact of the Suez Canal. You all know what is happening in the Suez Canal right now. Even before that, we had a blockage of a ship in the Suez Canal, and it caused quite a disruption because all the ships had to wait for the blockage to be actually cleared, increasing the congestion and increasing the time that is actually there. Right now, the case is we have Houthi rebels who are actually, blocking some of the ships from using that channel, particularly the main Maersk. So shipping used to take an average of 18 to 20 days, but now with the new changes, forcing ships now to divert their routes from the Suez Canal, and now they're using the Africa's Cape of Good Hope. That increases the time for shipments, with now shipments estimated to 40 to 45 days. So when you're factoring actually to do business, you must factor in such occurrences might happen. So the challenges and opportunities in tea trade. The main challenge is, of course, price volatility. Depending on the producer that you are actually getting the tea, price is really a big challenge. If a reserve price is introduced in a product which you had not factored in, it makes the tea a little bit more expensive and can be able to make you not be able to actually do business. Price also is affected in the sense of freight also. When the freight changes increase, you will have to adjust your prices in order to be able to actually sell. And some of these changes happen really quickly. So the freight costs are unpredictable, and sometimes you must be able to factor these costs in your actual costing. So the freight costs are a really big challenge that you will experience. Then, depending on the market, there are compliance regulations which are really tough. Exporting to the Iran market requires a simple document known as a GMP. But to get that compliance regulation will actually be a task for you if you're a new trader in the business. So trying to get some of these compliance regulations really takes time. Same case as exporting to the US market. Or also even just exporting to the Sudan market, which is our close neighbor. So trying to comply with regulations which you are given will actually forms a huge challenge. So the opportunities that are available in the tea industry, we have a growing demand for specialty teas. Right now, people are trying to move from the traditional CTC teas to something more healthier. And they view that specialty teas and orthodox teas are more healthier compared to CTC teas. So there's an opportunity in specialty teas in the whole world with a growing demographic. So if you want to venture into tea, probably figure out how you can be able to enter into the specialty tea. But it's also mentioning the consumers have not reached yet a demand that can be able to probably shift the tide from the city teas. But it's an opportunity that is going to come with the young people actually coming up. The other opportunity is e-commerce and direct to customer sales. We have clients who request that they need to buy tea directly from Kenya, which is not blended with any other blend. So there is an opportunity for e-commerce and direct shipment to the consumer sales. Right now, we have changed what the term that used to mean perishable. Perishable no longer means the fruit itself or the flower itself. Tea takes a long time to actually be classified as a perishable commodity, but the demand for such items urgently now causes it to be like a perishable product. So there is a need for direct sales to the customer themselves who require 100% authenticity from the market which is exporting. Then there's a drive for sustainability, and it's an opportunity if you wish to invest in sustainability and derive premium pricing from the tea itself. Thank you. I don't know, should I take questions? I see there are a couple of questions in the chat box, so probably I need to be guided.
Yes, you can respond to some.
Yes, you can respond to the questions, please. There's one from Wanja Kinuvia asking if we export any tea to Europe.
Yes, we export teas to the European market. Majority of the teas that actually exported to the European market are re-exported from Pakistan itself. So as I mentioned, Pakistan takes about 40%, but the figures that have been released for 2024 is now 35%. So the teas are re-exported from Pakistan, either as a blend or straight line to some of these markets. And probably that's where we lose the authenticity of the country itself. But yes, we export our teas to the European markets. I know not through I'm trying to remember the name, through something like AGPO. We don't use that process yet because our teas have not yet reached the requirements for that certification to be actually used to enter into those markets. But we export quite a number of teas to the European market. The reason it takes quite some time, I think that's the question for GMP certification, is actually because you are dealing with the Iranians themselves. In Kenya, we have a restriction for exporting teas to the Iran markets. So trying to get this GMP certification right now will be really a huge task because the government of Iran had imposed a temporary ban on some of the teas that are coming from Kenya. So getting this GMP certification will actually requires quite some patience with being sent from one office to the other office to really try getting it. It's mainly on a diplomatic issue rather than a tea issue. What do you consider the emerging markets for Black cities? We have a market that we actually don't explore really much, and that's the African market. Majority of our teas are exported outside Africa, but the African market really itself presents a huge opportunity for the Black city scene. For example, our north countries, the Libyan, Moroccans, actually consume a lot of tea, but unfortunately, majority of the tea is actually not exported from Kenya itself. So the North African countries present a huge opportunity for the teas that can be able to be offered. And the irony is, if you actually tell them we produce tea in Kenya, to them actually comes as a shock because they don't expect tea to be actually produced within the African continent itself. So there is an opportunity for Black city tea in the northern countries. Of course, Russia still remains a key export market. We are hoping with the Ukraine war probably coming down, it is a real emerging market for Black cities, and we are sure that that market will be able to absorb quite a huge number of teas once the violence actually stops. I probably answered the other one. Is there a way we can get actual export quality tea on our shelves in Kenya for local consumption? Now, let me remove a myth right now. The tea that you actually consume locally is not grade 2 or grade 1 tea. The tea that you consume locally is actually quality Kenyan tea. The only difference is probably what you consume locally on the shelf will be a blend of tea and not a straight line tea. When I mean a blend of tea, I mean it will be a blend of tea that is Kenyan from various regions within Kenya or within East African market. So it might not be a straight line tea as you expect, but the quality that you actually take is the same quality that you expect for exports. So there is no much difference between our local consumption and any other export that actually happens. So it's the same quality of tea. The only difference is what you consume is a blend as opposed to a mixture. But we have brands in Kenya that actually sell 100% Kenyan tea that is not blended. I don't think I will be allowed to probably mention the brands themselves. I'll probably ask the chair of the Packers if she can be able to probably mention some of these brands as opposed to me taking that up. Should I continue taking more questions or should I allow the next presenter to present?
You can take 2 more.
General requirements for exporting tea under AGOA. Is the US considering renewal of this program? Last time we had a meeting with the US Senate in Mombasa, some of the Senate representatives. We have already complied with AGOA and we can be able to export tea under this AGOA treaty. The unfortunate part is AGOA is mainly known for textile as opposed to actually tea. But you can export tea under the AGOA treaty. The renewal of it, again, there's a new administration in the US, so I am unable to comment on that. But from the team that was here from the US Senate actually showed a huge interest in the tea itself and were they showed prospects and were really encouraging us to, tell our members about AGOA itself and how they can be able to benefit from the AGOA protocol to export their teas to the US markets.
Thank you, Maxwell.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that you can reply to some of those questions through chat so that you can give the next presenter, Dr. Alice, please to also guide us on the Tea Packers' current status. Daktari, karibu sana.
Thank you, Anthony. Let me just share my screen. So there is really a lot on tea packer challenges and opportunities. So I've just touched on a few items. So I represent the packer members at EATTA, the one Max has just talked about. So basically, I just picked a few items because challenges are a whole day's topic. So for 15 minutes, maybe I'll not be able to talk much. So I just picked a few things. So as an introduction, so tea has been the most popular beverage since time immemorial. There are very many different tea cultures in each region, China, Sri Lanka, all over, even as we have our own tea cultures. So the way tea is drunk in different areas, it's a whole mix. In Kenya, the most exported teas has been in bulk, and that reduces our foreign income because the cost of selling that tea per kilogram, as you saw when Max was presenting, we are actually the lowest tea sellers in terms of price because most of our tea goes in bulk. So we are not able to gain from the foreign exchange in terms of a high income in terms of a dollar per kilogram. And surprisingly, some of those areas where we take our tea, like Pakistan, Germany, Egypt, they re-export our teas to America, to Europe, and all that stuff. So as we go on, we should be looking at doing what they are doing ourselves, and we go to the destination markets. And to do that, innovation in all areas will mitigate the challenges faced by packers, and we should be able to spur our country's tea export growth. The challenges. Some of the challenges which packers get into is about packaging materials, securing that material, securing the correct material. So what I've done is I've done in black the challenges, and in red I've tried to do what could be the mitigating factors. So the designs, there's the current consumer trends and preferences keep on changing, and the rise in e-commerce and global market require customized packaging to cater for the various regions, language. So once you do your designs, you need to keep on changing, and that is a cost. So the designs need, the designer need to be looking at changes and having forward thinking towards what might this region need, what might be the change, what might be the change in 10 years' time. Then sustainable material. The traditional packages produce a lot of wastes, leading to environmental degradation. So consumers nowadays are aware, and also regulations are pushing to sustainable, eco-friendly, recyclable packaging. There is also the use of smart packaging integrity like QR code to enhance user engagement. Then we go to quality control. A lot of times packers are not able to get a consistent product quality and integrity, which meets the customer expectation. So here again, you have to look at pricing and quality, because some of the goods printers, they ask for minimum order quantities, which may be the small SMEs or even the big packers are not able to afford And then there are changes always because of the customer, the current trend changes. So the packer has to balance the innovative design aesthetics with cost effectiveness. Cost management. The high volumes, that is the minimum order quantities which are asked by the printers. The designs add on to costs and hence increases cost of production. Sometimes you find somebody finding a packet of tea in the shelf and say, oh, this tea costs maybe $2 or $1. Why is this in the shelf costing 2 to 3 times? So there is cost of production in packaging and the use of cost-effective material to optimize costs. Somebody can negotiate rates while maintaining quality. And then again, in packaging, we look at, to mitigate cost, you look at simple designs which appeal to the customer, but again, keeping the integrity of the quality of the material to manage costs. Then we have supply chain disruptions. Sometimes you have delays in production, logistic breakdowns, and these challenges leads to missed deadlines, dissatisfied customers, and sometimes canceled orders. So these delays could be on the part of the packer because again, remember, finance is not cheap. We are not always able to reach a finance in time. So sometimes as much as you want to have it in time, you might not have the money or you might not have the money to meet the minimum order quantities. So here to mitigate that, packers should work with credible partners and then invest in robust inventory system, which will warn well in advance critical volumes. Regulatory compliance. In export, remember, we are exporting to the world. And each of these regions have different requirements in labeling, safety standards, environmental laws, and all that stuff. And this can be a hindrance, especially when you are doing packaging because you need a little here, you need a little there. So again, as packers, we have to keep up to date on the various requirements in target markets and also seek legal advice. And again, our commercial attaches are very, very important people because they are able to get for us for free information on the individual countries. Then we have the government taxes and duties, which again add to the costs. So those are our challenges. I'll go to the opportunities. In opportunities for the available target markets, the opportunities are really, really varied. And for us to be able to get these opportunities, the first important word is innovation, innovation, innovation. So innovation towards the product, the brand, the marketing, technology, and even your own organizational structure. So these innovations, it's in all ways, including efficiency. Because when you are efficient, even if you get something expensive on the other side, it balances. So the tea products, there are again varied tea products as the tea consumers are diverse from all over, but the biggest consumed tea in the world is black tea, which is our tea. We go to green teas. You can go to spicy flavored teas. And again, you can go now to the orthodox teas, which are not, which we are not exporting a lot, but you'll be surprised even our own people here do not know what that we have orthodox teas. Some people, we show them and then they're asking, what is this? And it is our tea. So a segment of consumers also are demanding sustainable, eco-friendly teas, which are ethically sourced and chemical-free. So this is another market. So the target consumers are many and the products are varied. So those are all opportunities. Distribution. I've given distribution as an opportunity. Nowadays, we are a global village. So there is retail, which most of us know. There is online, there is e-commerce, there are specialty stores and tea stores. So again, those are opportunities for the tea packers to reach out to the global market with ease. Pricing. Pricing, again, I call it an opportunity. You can choose to do the value-based or the competitive pricing. Somebody asked Maxwell why we don't get the export tea in our market. The export tea is available, but you have to be ready to pay for the value. So what we are seeing a lot in our shelves at the supermarket, it's what you call a balanced price, because there is what people have in their minds. This is the much I need to spend on the segment. So again, this is driven by the individual's unique selling proposition. So all opportunities are there from one end to the other. But again, as we say on the challenges, there are a lot of logistical challenges, especially in the African countries. Our tea is in demand. But if you are to take that tea to Ghana or DRC, something coming from Europe will reach faster to their country than coming from Kenya to Ghana or to DRC. So that is all what I have for now. It's a lot, but I just chose that. Thank you very much. So again, I'll need guidance if there are questions and anything. So I'll stop my share for now.
Thank you, Daktari.
Okay, thank you.
For the presentation.
Thank you.
Buona Lele was supposed to do a presentation on the EAE market, but I think our dear friend from Egypt, Buona Tobias Okello.
Yes, Anthony, I am around. I have just talked to Lele. Lele is on the road and is joining very soon. I think he was coming from Abu Dhabi.
Okay. I think then if you don't mind, if you're ready, you can give us a brief preview of the Egyptian market with regards to tea.
Yes, I can. I'm sorry I shared with you a general presentation, but I will just concentrate on tea bit of it.
Yes, which is okay.
I don't know whether you can share my presentation.
Well, let me just consult on the. You want to share we can't see your screen, or you want us to?
I want you to share what I sent you, but I will just concentrate on tea. I think I shared general, the general market for all the commodities, but I will just concentrate on tea.
Okay, you can just be presenting as we retrieve You can just do a brief introduction as we try and project for you then.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Tobias Okello. I'm the commercial attaché based in Egypt, and I take care of Jordan and Eritrea. Luckily, we have also been given, though not officially, but we have been given Libya and Lebanon. So I want to start by saying that Egypt is our number 2 importer of tea. And Egypt has a very vast population of around 120 million people spread along the River Nile. Egypt has nowhere where they grow tea, and they 100% depend on the teas that are imported from several countries. I want to say that we have been lucky as Kenya, that Kenyan tea is really predominant in Egypt, and they really like Kenyan tea. I want to say that the record has it that we imported we imported, because I'm here, we imported 2023 65.89 million kilograms, and that was worth 28.7 billion Kenya shillings into Egypt. That constituted a market share of 89% of all the teas that is taken into this market. And I want to impress you that out of that, we can only do 41% of the total demand of tea in Egypt. So this tells us that we still have a lot of space to sell our tea in Egypt. Again, Egypt really are using our teas for blending, and like the other presenter said, that they blend and re-export mainly to Europe. What is being taken in Egypt here is what has really been blended and saturated. And this is why we are advocating for a kind of an MOU, because you can imagine that the common population takes tea that is really of very low value, and still, when you look at the packaging, there is somewhere that the tea is from Kenya. So, but if you have ever tasted Kenyan tea, because they have tasted Kenyan tea and what is in the market, then they doubt whether the teas are from Kenya or not. And this now calls for an MOU so that we agree on how much we can do this. I mean, if that is, because we also have to take care of our brand. I also want to say that we've been having lots of challenges in teas that are brought to Egypt. And most of the challenges that we have encountered here in Egypt, some of them are beyond us, but some of them we can manage, because in this market, I have been in this market, and what I have realized is that the freedom that we have given to this field sometimes cost us, because just like some presenters said, there is direct purchase. Somebody comes from here and then just purchases from the producer, and then comes with the teas here, or somebody player just comes from Kenya, comes to Egypt, finds a prospective buyer in the street, and then they agree, he goes back and then ships the teas to Egypt without proper due diligence. So this one here brings us a lot of unwavering challenge in terms of, number one, payment, and number two, it increases the rate of fraudulence. Because now, if you have just been there when the teas come here and you don't have proper agreements, the teas comes to the customs, the person actually clears the teas. When the teas gets into his stores, then he starts telling you, the teas are of very low quality, and therefore I cannot pay you the price that we agreed. Unless you reduce the price or we renegotiate the price, then there's nothing I can do. A lot of cases are in this office that we are trying to take care of, but these are because of, I would call them reckless agreements that we make in the streets. So this is one of the challenges. The other challenge that has been also mentioned here is like inappropriate packaging. Formerly, we used to sell in the shelves here the teas from Kenya that were very well packaged. But some of the vendors have also snipped the teas here that these people consider that they are not very well packaged, so they can't compete in the market. I have talked of improper engagement in agreement drafting. This is really a challenge, and it gives us a lot of problems when we now try to mitigate the conflicts between now the buyer and the seller. The only reprieve I have as a government officer is to approach my fellow government officers here who are Ministry of Trade. And sequentially, they will look at the agreements and the clauses that these people trick us. And we don't include these clauses in the agreements that we make in the streets. So whenever I go to the Ministry of Trade to find out why our exporters are not paid, then they ask me for the agreement. And if suppose I have the agreements, if I give them the agreement, then they start asking me, where are we here? And we cannot now get into, we cannot interfere with a gentleman agreement. So we have been actually advising the exporters that it would just be better that we are not controlling anything, but it would be better if we also see the agreement so that we see the clauses that these people are purportedly hiding from us, and we are getting into this agreement because we want to sell. Another challenge that we have always had here is delayed non-payments, and that is what I have just explained. One of them is because of these agreements, and one of them is because of fraudulence. They are like, sometimes there is no dollar, sometimes there is also these things. And all these things are manageable. We are trying to have our best engagement with the governments here and the financial institutions here. Lately, we had an engagement with a commercial international bank, which is now currently in Kenya. They have two branches. One is in Mombasa, and the other one is in Nairobi. Actually, they bought the shares from the Mayfair, the former Mayfair. And we are agreeing with the management of that bank that we will be, going through the banks. We will be convincing the buyers and the sellers to go through the bank so that we could be paid using our own currencies, just to mitigate the idea of scarcity of dollars and all that. But the thing is still in the process. When it will come to fruition, then we will have to inform appropriately on how to go about it. Delayed payments are for a reason that we are engaging the governments here, and we are almost agreeing. And what I wanted to bring up on now that this is the main associations for tea players is that we have negotiated here, and conflict resolution mechanism has been set up in the Ministry of Trade of this place, just to deal with this kind of fraudulence and the gimmicks of non-payments. And I have always faulted the associations in terms of proper engagement, and I want to thank KEPROBA for convening this. There is lack of proper engagement with the government, and especially State Department for Trade. And I think that all the informations that we are giving here must be, you know, a tool for the association to engage properly, so that we also have a desk, we also have a formidable force that can counter. Because now, if these people we have convinced them, and they have instituted a desk that is dealing with conflict resolution in Ministry of Trade here, then the only persons who could talk with them is the Ministry of Trade in Kenya. And you know, this is something that the private sector and the tea players can pick up seriously with the Ministry of Trade, that we want a desk that when our people are not paid, we have where to face, because it has been very amorphous. I agree, you are really helping the players in the field, but when it comes to government, where do we go to? We really want to form that desk there, so that that desk deals with the desk in the other governments here, so that even when we are going there, we are going with the voice from the government to the other side. We have also lack of consistency in supplying, you know, the content that the market needs. And this, again, I will not attribute it to producers or exporters from Kenya. This one, again, I will attribute it to the players who are importing Kenyan tea. Because we go to Upper Egypt, for example, you will get teas that are of very low quality, dust actually. And you ask them why, and they tell you this is Kenyan tea and it doesn't feel like Kenyan tea. Sometimes they bring what we feel like Kenyan tea, and sometimes they don't bring what is called, what is expected to be Kenyan tea. And therefore the variation in tastes also affects the market a lot. And all this, again, I think we could just have it when we probably have a proper MOU with the importers or the associations of this place. So, and that calls also on the standards, that goes along with the standards. The other presenter also just talked about the freight costs. The problems of the Red Sea, the conflicts here is really affecting the freight cost, which is also, you know, replicated into the cost of teas around here. You remember the teas of Kenya are cheaper compared to other teas from Sri Lanka, India, and all those places that are really competing us. But now, because of this, again, they are finding that now the teas are becoming a little bit too expensive, and this is probably beyond us, and we hope that it will be resolved soon. I want to talk of the opportunities in Egypt. Opportunities in Egypt is vast, like I have said. Egypt is a country of 120 population strength, and the statistic has it that an average Egyptian takes 6 cups of tea per day. So that will tell you how much tea is needed in Egypt. And leave alone gold, Egypt takes tea and they love tea like gold. So that is the strength that we should be really reaping from. And I also want to say that for us to get this opportunity, I think we are very relaxed even as the Sri Lankans and Chinese and Indians are normally coming here to demonstrate the strength and the betterness of their teas. As Kenya, we are not doing the same even as much. So I think this one here, we should relook at it. Somebody talked about marketing, and I agree with her that we are very poor in marketing our product, and that is tea. And as you know, tea is our strength in this market. Another thing is that I have just heard from another presenter, which is right, that Libya and would I say the MENA and the part of the North Africa here, we are not sufficiently, felt apart from here in Egypt. And I'm glad that when the president visited here the other time, we had a meeting with the PS Ministry, State Department for Agriculture, and KTB, and ourselves here, and Keninvest. And we were thinking that what we resolved in that meeting was that we would have a kind of free zone here, so that we could have our teas here to supply the places that we haven't really touched, including Libya and the other countries in the north, and Jordan. So we have a huge opportunity here. The flavored tea is also getting into Egypt and the MENA at large, and we also need to really work on that. And I'm glad somebody talked about innovation. So we really also need to have to do about innovation really well. So I think from there, I want to rest my case, unless there is any other question or clarification that somebody wants me to make. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you. I can see there was a question about the Sudan ban on tea, Bwana Tobias. Could you enlighten if it has affected the supply and the prices of tea?
Yes. I want to say yes and no. I want to be on the positive side that the ban on tea to Sudan now gives us an opportunity again to venture into niche markets. We have just had a communication that we need to convert the route into Egypt and the other countries, and we are working on it. The other time we were at home, and my Balozi was at home. He had a meeting with Ketepa, and we agreed that we organize for kind of popularization event, so that we get market for the teas that were going to Sudan, into Egypt, so that we can also spread to Libya and Jordan. So yes, it is affecting. It has really affected us really great in terms of our exports. But it is also an opportunity again to reconvert this to other places that need tea most.
Thank you. Thank you, Tobias, for that insightful market insight about Egypt and the response on the Sudan market. Next on, give Bwana Boniface Njoroge from the Pakistan office. Bwana Boniface, floor is yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Before I start presenting, with me I have the Deputy Head of Mission Ambassador Daniel Nganda, who would like to
apologies for that, Bwana Boniface. Yes, can you introduce the Bwana Ambassador? Thank you.
Yeah, I would like him to say a few words before I maybe share my presentation. Balozi.
Karibu sana Balozi.
Thank you very much, the chair, organizers, and panelists and participants. Good afternoon from Pakistan.
Good afternoon.
Mine is to sit and listen to, the opinion of, the experts, and see how we can use that to improve our already big market. And I want to encourage the Kenya Tea board, or the key players in the sector, to find a way to engage, Pakistan more intensely, because I think, as Boniface will go through, he will point out that, we still have this big market share, but there's still more that can be done. With those few remarks, I would like to let him go through it. And then maybe later, if there's a need to comment, then we can proceed from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Balozi. Colleagues, just like to go through, in essence, in brief, what Pakistan market is, what it represents, whatever we've observed since I've been here around 2.5 years, came in November 2022. There's been a lot that has happened during that time, before and that time, but I would really like to concentrate on the time that I was here, because again, there were different situations that were happening before that I might not be privy to. So in brief, as everybody has mentioned, I guess Pakistan is our biggest market for tea. I hope my presentation is audible to everybody. Okay, I will proceed. So Pakistan represents the biggest market for Kenya's exports, representing around between 40 to 42% of the total tea we export, and a very huge, big margin in terms of the market share in the Pakistani market. As of February 2025, we have about 93.88 market share. Obviously, we have other products, but tea forms a huge percentage of what we export here. Out of the products maybe that we do here, in not big volumes compared to tea, because tea forms, I think, the majority of whatever we export to this market. So I'll not go through the figures in details, but just to know that this is our second biggest market for exports, total exports of Kenya, and our primary market for the export of tea. Now, going through the figures of just to see in terms of fluctuations, how we've done from 2023 or through 2024 to 2025, you would see that the first 2 months of this year, we've had a fluctuation, which I would like to explain this fluctuation as I go by, because it's an issue that is happening currently. It's an issue that we are trying to observe. It's an internal matter in Pakistan. But as you keenly see that we've lost a total of around 3 million kilos between February and January. This started last year in November. Between October and November, again, we dropped a similar amount of around 4 million kilograms of tea, translated again into December. So this has just, in our own assessment and the way the situation is in Pakistan, we have an issue that is called the minimum retail price. This was introduced in 1st of November. It's a measure that has been there, but now implemented 1st of November. This means that tea is put at a minimum retail price of 1,200 Pak rupees. That is the minimum you can sell tea in the market. Now, if you look at the bigger percentage of the tea exporters in Pakistan, around 85% are bulk exporters of tea. Because they also sell in local auctions. We call them bazaars. These bazaars are used to supply tea to now the secondary packers and manufacturers of tea. So they buy in open markets in the bazaars. So majority of the importers here are bulk buyers. Most were affected because, again, it's a problem that is coming both ways. It's coming from Mombasa and it's also happening in Pakistan. The reason why it affected us and the minimum retail price is that most buyers have been importing teas that are lower priced from Kenya. So now they are the sudden change of the minimum retail price suits one side of the market and not suits the other side of the market. Majority of the big companies, the Tapals, the Liptons, are not having a problem with the MRP because they bring in tea, like Lipton brings in tea already packed. And most of the teas that they sell in the market is way beyond the 1,200 pack rupees. So we've seen a slight change, not a slight change, a significant change in terms of drop of volumes from last year. This is something that is worrying us because it's an internal matter in Pakistan. It's among the measures that you put in for revenue collection or in the Finance Act. So again, it's something that we are working with the Pakistan Tea Association. They asked for information from us. We supply that information. They have been able to meet the Federal Board of Revenue, that is an equivalent of our KRA, to try and argue their case that, again, these are issues that can be controlled. Beyond that, there's also an issue of levies. Now, tea is in a class of commodities here in Pakistan known as essential goods for import. By essential, it means the priority sectors, health, defense, energy, tea is in that category because it's something that we argued and the Pakistan considered us in February 2023. There was an issue where the dollar availability was a problem in Pakistan because the State Bank was giving priority to import to essential commodities, which tea was not put in that category. So we were really suffering at that point. We dropped almost 7 million or 8 million kgs within a period of a month. So with the help of the then Minister of Agriculture, Linturi, we met their government officials and they considered tea as an essential commodity. So from 2023 February, we've not really seen an issue with the dollar or availability of the dollar, but it doesn't mean the issue has gone away, as I'll explain later. So going to now the volumes that we've seen in 2024, there have been fluctuations, but what has remained constant is that we've had a market share, which I would say is better than the previous year, even 2022, because 2022 we were averaging 77. The highest I think we had in 2022 is 85% market share. But through 2024, we've seen some constant market share. This does not mean that we're getting enough value for our tea as much as you'd see we have, because if you look at the months of November, let's say month of November 2024, you'd see that much as we have a huge market share, but the price we get for our tea at that moment is again low. And that November is what I'm explaining when the MRP issue started. And you would see that from October to all through to December, we dropped 4 million kilograms out of nowhere, which just shows that issue has really been a problem for us. But in general, we are saturated in the market now. I would not say that we do not have a market presence in terms of the tea that we supply here. But there are so many things we could try and do to maybe be able to get more value for our tea, because that issue of re-export has really been coming up in the discussion. And that's because Pakistan has provisions for certain categories of goods that are considered for, number one, for promoting local production. There are certain areas in Pakistan that are considered less developed. So the government comes up with measures to classify those areas as areas that need industrialization. So tea that is coming to those areas is mainly brought duty-free to promote industrializations there. And secondly, there's another provision for re-export. So tea that comes into the market considered for re-export is not subjected to duty. So most buyers, again, especially with this MRP issue, are now quickly turning into re-exports because there's a huge market for them in the US, as you rightfully put it. They are sending a lot of tea to even Russia. But now you see it's a problem for us because as much as anything else, Pakistanis are set up in Dubai. And if we are not careful enough and don't address some of these issues, they will start importing through Dubai and exporting directly to those countries without coming to this market. So we might lose the market share. But as of now, we are maintaining a good market share, which can also be seen as an improvement from 2023. In comparison to 2023 and 2024, if you look at the figures, we have increased the volumes in 2024, but we have dropped in value. If you look at 2023, we had a total of $474 million US, which was we've dropped to 428, 491, $661 million in 2024. This just shows you that again, the pertinent issues that we've been complaining about are really affecting us, which I will explain as we go down. But we've increased in volumes because our production went up. The rain in Kenya was okay for 2024, but again, we've lost the value, which I will explain as we go down. So in comparison, if you look at our competition, basically our biggest competitor, our East African brothers, but not so much so in terms of value, in terms of volume. But this does not mean that you're comfortable in the market, because Rwanda is really coming up quickly on us. Rwanda has about 5% market share on average. This is on average of 2024. Uganda also have a slightly significant presence here. The worrying aspect and the worrying trend for us here is that again, there's been aggressive marketing from West African brothers. They are doing a lot as compared to us, Kenya, in terms of their agencies, their promotion agencies, in terms of creating promotion for Kenya, engagement in the sector with the tea sector in Pakistan. They are really doing that. And again, Rwanda opened the High Commission in Pakistan last year. So that is, they want a presence in this market. Tanzania are working on that. Uganda also working on that. In comparison to our East African brothers, if you look at the tea quality, the only two countries that match our quality, these are Rwanda and Burundi. The only disadvantage Rwanda and Burundi have is that they do not have the volumes. They have the quality, but they don't have the volumes. Rwanda is currently working on giving free land to growers of tea. This is something we also need to be very careful about. Again, you see, Tanzania is also trying to draw away sellers of tea to Tanzania when they open the online auction. So competition is always there for us in the market. But right now, I would say we still have a bit of space to work with the competition. Obviously, we would want to have 100% of the market, but you see their market preferences, like the military here. From our reports, they're buying directly tea from Tanzania. So there are things we can't eliminate in the market, but so far so good. We only need to work on our value, the value of tea now, because in the next slide I will explain the average cost of tea. I saw Maxwell's presentation. So in 2024, if you compare with the values, the average value of our tea in 2024 is $2.52 per kg of tea. That is now tea that is coming to Pakistan, whatever is bought from the auction coming to Pakistan. But that's in comparison to what is sold in the market. As I explained, you see minimum retail price is 1,200 Pak rupees, loosely translated to around 600 Kenyan shillings. So already that's a margin of almost, because $252 compare, give or take 300 and something Kenyan shillings. So looking at what they sell in the market, that's just the local market, and that's the minimum, because Lipton sell upwards of 1,800 Pak rupees. That's as much as 900 Kenyan shillings. Compared to now what they export also in the market, because if you look at what they send to the US, the tea will fetch almost 4 times the value, or even 5 times the value, depending on how they have blended the tea. And mind you, Kenya's tea is not drunk in its quality, because it's so strong here. They use it to blend lesser quality teas. So again, we're not getting value for our tea because our tea is used to blend the lesser quality. But you see the amounts we're fetching, we might be higher than the East African community members, because Rwanda is close to us. Some months Rwanda goes above us. Some months they are below us. In average, we are taking the value of a higher value in this market, but this is not the best we can achieve in this market. I mean, there's so much space to grow, especially in the value addition sector. So moving away to now the issue of, I would just like to touch on the challenges, as I explained. Number one challenge is obviously the MRP, which I've explained, and this exposes us now to a situation that we've written about, especially to the tea players in Kenya, and to also the relevant agencies. So this just shows us that their people are ready to do everything it takes to continue be sellers of tea and to be companies of tea, but doesn't mean that they will stick by the regulations. One of the pertinent issues we've been dealing here is the smuggling. So tea, as explained, there are provisions to have some certain areas grow for industrialization in terms of tea, but buyers have really abused that provision. We did write to our people back at home. The government here did investigation, but that's as far as they went, because that issue is really coming out strong. An example I will give that Afghanistan takes a lot of green tea, but you will see that the volumes to Afghanistan are increasing, but that tea finds its way to Pakistan. It just goes as a tea meant for transit to Afghanistan, then finds its way to Pakistan, and they don't pay duty for it. Again, the areas that are considered for industrialization, again, you would see that there's an increase in import of tea in that area, but that tea, if you look at the population in those areas, it's 10 times the demand in that market. So again, just shows you that is smuggled back to the market. So the genuine importers here are having a problem because now they are forced to also go down that route because they can't compete in the market. This also makes our work very difficult in terms of getting buyers of market. Like this year, I've had already 3 or 4 requests from new buyers, new sellers of tea from Mombasa. You get a person require having specification of the tea they want, Gadudu tea, whatever. Give you then you ask your people back at home. So the prices that are quoted at the port of Mombasa, without duty, without shipment, without anything, is lower than what is available on the market. For what the people are buying in the open bazaars is lower than that. So it puts us in a very difficult position to be able to get market for these buyers because the market is a bit corrupt in terms of how it works and how the prices are played about, the pricing issues and whatnot. So again, opportunity for us will always be, number one, we need to move with issues of value addition. If we can get our brand in this market in terms of, because there's no tea in Pakistan that has a brand from Kenya. Discussions we've had with Lipton who are ready to do that, but again, because it's a multinational, they have to go through the headquarters in Netherlands, a long story. Other buyers are really willing to do that, but again, organizations need to make decisions, but we need to be aggressive in that area. We need to, again, approach it in a way that we'll have our brand recognized here. And then if we can have the finished product here, maybe take 5% of our bulk sales or 10% of our bulk sales to be having ready product in the market. That will really boost some of these numbers because in comparison to what Pakistan is doing for the rice market in Kenya, if you observe clearly, you realize that they have really infiltrated our market in terms of what they do to the rice. They control everything. So again, we need to be aggressive, even the tea players. We need to be aggressive in terms of how we get into this market. Another challenge I would really like to touch on that has really been bothering us is the issue of competition, obviously. The biggest threat we have now is from the East African brothers, but Sri Lanka is really moving again. They have an FTA with Pakistan from 2005, but that FTA was not working for them because they have not been exporting volumes of tea. So they went ahead and bought tea farms in Kenya. The Browns, the company is called Browns. The Brown Investment PLC, they went and bought 85% of James Finlay. They have also bought a few farms in Kenya. They want to use the tea from Kenya now to blend with whatever they bring from Sri Lanka. The proposal they have to review their rules of origin in Pakistan is that they want to include at least 65% of tea from outside and 35% from Sri Lanka, and then sell it in Pakistan as original Sri Lanka tea. So this again goes to just take away our market share as much as they will be getting the tea from Kenya. But you see, they will obviously have an advantage because they have a free trade agreement with Pakistan. They will not access the duty. So again, if you look at the shift of how Pakistan moved from importing tea from Sri Lanka in the first place, this is how it played out because it's just prices that put Kenya in the correct place in the 80s, and that's how Pakistan moved to start importing tea from Kenya. So we need to be very careful about that issue. Again, this just goes to be issues of, again, being aggressive. Our marketing activities here have really gone down. I don't know the last time Kenya had any exhibition here. The embassy obviously has no finances to do that, even us as commercial attaches. So we do not have enough funding for doing exhibitions, and we can only join others in the exhibitions. And this just means that our sectors need to support really in terms of creating even country exhibitions. It doesn't have to be tea or coffee alone. We can get all the sector players, do one country exhibition for tourism or agricultural products, just put our name outside here in the market. Maybe we'll claw back whatever we've lost in terms of the prominence in the market. I would also like to touch on another challenge that has been of bother to us, which is the out of lots. If you look at the auction sheets, you will quickly realize that the year 2023 and 2024 has really been prominent with the out of lots tea. It's something buyers have also realized here in Pakistan, and they, I don't say collude with the with the brokers in Mombasa, but that's exactly what happens. Where now tea comes into the auction as fresher teas, go through the auctions, but is not sold in the first round, recatalogued again, goes back to the auction. But now, when it comes to the auction again, it's sold with the new teas. So obviously, buyers will have to look at the prices, and obviously the old teas will fetch discounts, and they will prefer buying the old teas. So we are losing out quickly on our quality because number one, fresher teas are better quality than the old teas, and again we are losing on the value because the farmers are not getting the true value of their tea. And the volumes of outlaws have been really increasing. We've written about it. We've consulted the Kenya Tea Board of Kenya on that issue. So really, the challenges that we have in the market are both ways. We could really do a lot in terms of negotiations from government to government now, and we are hoping even the Ministry of Trade will spearhead the forthcoming JTC, which has really been pending for a long time, to discuss some of these issues that have been really bothering us. But from the sector players, again, quality has really been an issue that has come up a lot. The packaging, for example, when we meet the players, they say that previously tea was used to be packed in 5-ply material, but now they have gone back to 3-ply. So it cannot retain the quality of tea for the time of shipment and when they come and store here for sale in the bazaars. So these are some of the issues. Shipping, again, it has been explained elaborately. And then production. The consistency in productions need to be, again, maintained. Because if you look at the teas from the east of the rift and the west of the rift, there's also the politics of how to pluck the tea, how to pack the tea. We are supposed to have a harmonized system. If we agree that we are using machines, then we get machines that are be able to do the 2 leaves and a bud, because the market here prefers teas from the 2 leaves and a bud. But if you're going to use labor, again, we need to check on the prices of labor. We need to review a lot of things, because if you look at average people who are plucking tea in let's say Muranga, because I know a farmer in Muranga will tell you that out of the 24 shillings is paid per maybe per kilo, you get maybe 14, 15 will go to a plucker, the rest is for fertilizer, the rest is for what, So the farmer is, at the end of the day, is discouraged, and you will just go the coffee way of people are plucking the tea and going to another crop. So if we don't again harmonize our system internally, I'm glad that there are discussions going on to check issues in that sector. I hope recommendations will come out that will be able to save us now from, again, the issues of production, the issues of quality. These are some of the things we can work on. So in general, this is a market that we are sitting, I will not say comfortable now, because obviously they are threats to us. But I would say we need to work on the issues of value addition. We need to work on the issues of promotion and other activities to put ourselves out here. Again, engaging of the sector here, the PTA. I don't know the last time when our IATA had a meeting with PTA to just resolve some of the issues. These issues include, again, a payment. We have claims from Kenya where exporters have sent tea to the market, they have not been paid. But again, because of legal or the jurisdiction, buyers are not followed down, and PTA is always writing to them, please pay, please pay. But there is no government-to-government arrangement of where we can all prosecute these people and also teach our people back at home that when we are selling tea to certain markets, we need to have minimum requirements. Let's say sales agreement, we need to have open letters of credit, we need to do what we have, again, negotiate better terms, because you wouldn't say, like we were dealing with one company that I will not mention from Thika. They exported tea worth around $1 million, $500,000. That's the first transaction, and they did everything. The buyer was only supposed to collect the tea from the port of Karachi. No down payment, no nothing. And again, you've not been paid for that time. You end up again sending more tea to them. I mean, even you as a buyer, you need to really check on your check precautions, do due diligence. Of course, the embassy is here. If anybody wants to access the market from the players, we can do the due diligence for you, check if the buyers are legit. But also, process needs to be told to our people what to do. We need to have formalities. You cannot, even if you're exporting as an individual, at the end of the day, when you lose your money, it is the government that will be answerable. So also, people that are doing, even not from the auction or they are doing independently, need to know that not all buyers are genuine. We are dealing with people who obviously have different nationalities. Pakistanis have dual nationalities. One will be in the UK, but imports tea in Pakistan, then goes to the UK. You'll try and follow them up. You'll not be able to get them. So the money ends up getting lost. So I'd like to stop from there. There's so much more I can give in terms of data and everything, but because of time, I would let the meeting continue. But maybe if there are any questions to respond, let me just check the chat. Okay. Maybe in my view, okay, I don't see any questions. Maybe if somebody has a direct question they can ask, I'll be willing to respond, but I would like to stop sharing from there. Okay, back to you, Anthony. I submit. Any questions, Anthony? I can't quite get you. I don't know if it's my side or you, but I can't get you.
Audible enough. You're not audible enough, Anton.
Oh, I'm not audible. How about now?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Yes, you can hear me now?
Yes, you are audible now.
Okay. For now, I don't think there are any questions, but if there are, please you can put them on the chat. I don't know if Bonalile is on.
Yes, Anthony, I'm connected here.
Thank you. Karibu sana Bonalile, representing the UAE office. Karibu sana.
Thank you. So, thank you once again, Keproba, for hosting us to this important session to discuss about tea opportunities and the challenges, and of course on a collective intervention to see how best we can enhance the growth of tea exports. For UAE markets, we have as of 2023, from the statistics, we have a market share of 42%. If you look at all our exports into the region, or rather into the UAE, 41% of all exports for us, is agricultural related products. And the top item as of 2023 or over that period in the last 3 years is frozen and chilled, meats. And then tea follows closely, then avocados, cut flowers, pineapples, mangoes. So basically fruits and vegetables form top of the list. Then coffee, tea. Coffee is not as much, but then it represents one of our items that comes into this market. Our bilateral trade currently stands at around $3.3 billion between Kenya and UAE. We do exports to a tune of around $841 million, whereas the imports from the UAE stands at around $2.2 billion. Of course, just for also information is that UAE is our second import partner as Kenya after China. And then equally, they are our seventh export trading partner. Much of the, or rather, if I talk about duties and tariffs into these markets, the tariffs UAE charges is around 5%, but largely on processed items or value-added items. So mostly the raw items which are in form of raw materials or in raw attract 0% duty. If we come specifically to tea, if you've come to the UAE, especially Dubai, you will have probably heard about a term called karak. karak in its meaning, I think it's an Hindi, term that means strong. So here it means strong chai. And it is a pick-me-up kind of, sought after drink in every, shop or cafeteria in the UAE. So if we talk about tea, if you talk about karak, you are talking about tea. And it's one thing that we as a country, need to come out strongly to say, take up that Kenya is a key producer of tea. I mean, we are number 3 producer, and we need to come out there and give it, a term that we are selling Kenyan tea, branded as Kenyan tea. So CTC forms our much of our bulk of Kenyan tea exports into the region. However, demand for orthodox tea is also increasing. Green teas, organic teas has been on high demand. Our export potential in the GCC is high. If you look at Tea Board of Kenya statistics, you realize up to 63% of our exports, total exports, come into the GCC and the East Asian countries plus the central, the CIS states. So it's a significant percentage of exports that if we focus enough, then I think we will be able to enhance our exports. The DMCC, which is basically the home of teas here in the UAE, is a free zone. Dubai Multi-Commodity Center. They handle, the tea, coffee, and other commodities. This is one place that, has been the home of teas for since 2008. And these presence of Kenyan companies, the likes of Kenya Tea Development Agency, James Finlay, others like the Cup of Joe, and some new entrants, even as early as mid last year, is one part that we need to focus on, because DMCC is a re-export center. Whatever UAE imports, they re-export up to 28-30% to other key markets. That's as Dubai is an hub. Much of the trading happens here, but then the direction or the destination of the product ends, in as many countries that I have mentioned. And you find they have up to 3,000 varieties of teas. From specialty blends, originating from different source markets or sources as India, Sri Lanka, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Malawi, Mozambique, Burundi and Indonesia, and including also China. So we have really to focus on having our tea presence in the market, because as a hub, most people who know about tea in Dubai then come to the DMCC to, search for teas from the different, sources. DMCC, if you look at KTDA, for instance, all teas at the DMCC, up to 60% of the teas warehoused at DMCC belong to KTDA. And you find there are walk-in customers who come from time to time, from different, of course, markets, from Iran, from, Russia, and many others. So we need to enhance our presence in Dubai so that we market ours, or rather we place our teas closer, to our potential markets. If you look at also the number of companies that are present in the DMCC, for Kenyans, there are quite a few. And this is one place that can easily increase our visibility, or the visibility of the Kenyan tea. So what I would encourage is Kenyan companies to try and make, their presence to the DMCC, establish in the DMCC, and be able to sell, say, to walk-in customers, and also to the high network, or the network that the DMCC ecosystem has created across the world. Other things that come up, is export promotion, fairs, which I think for us like my colleagues have mentioned, we have had limited, resources to or make sure that our teas are, placed in front of consumers. So we have big events or exhibitions like the Gulf Food in Dubai, the Saudi Food Show, the Middle East Organics and Naturals event usually held in December, around November, December. And of course, the Dubai Global Forum that happens around April, May, that focuses on tea, alone. So these are events that I believe over time, we should be able to make, our presence known and be able to stand out as a key producer of tea. I know much of the competition that we have in this region is usually India and Sri Lanka, which of course, they beat us mostly because of the value addition that as for Sri Lanka, of course, if you look at their value addition, it goes up to like 44%. But for us, I think we largely still do, bulk teas. And if you look at the market, especially for UAE, value addition is one key item that will help you sell in this market. The retail and e-commerce market is quite huge. That is the main primary channel that many consumers, use to get products or items in the market. So one key thing that we need really to highlight, that I need to highlight here is we need to enhance our value addition so that we get into, say, the retail market here. KTDA have come up with a product, they call it Chai Gold, which it's making inroads. I've seen Kenyan companies also, the likes of Melvin's Tea and others have had that desire to, bring in these their value-added products into the shelves, which, is a welcome idea. What is required here is just to have your, product, registered with the Dubai municipality as more of the label and the product itself. And it's able to, penetrate into the market, but it will go beyond that. You will require, say, to set up, enhance your marketing also in the market because the competition is quite rife. You find the likes of Lipton's, cover a whole section of shelves. So we need to come in and, have our teas take up a good space also on the shelves. If you talk about challenges, I think much of the challenges that have been mentioned by my colleagues also are inherent in this market, like delayed or non-payments for shipments. And mostly it emanates from, say, conflicts arising from, say, contractual or contracts that were really not negotiated well, or coming in as a Kenyan, you want to negotiate, as a lesser party. Like, you don't come in to say, you have the product and the buyer has, say, the money. So you need to come in into that contract at 50-50. So don't take that feeling that, you want to have, you want to take a back seat and allow the buyer to be the one, deciding on even the contract itself, because we found scenarios where the contract, our sellers don't even know, some of the clauses on that contract. So it's important that we enter into contracts that we are aware, and there is presence of mind as you negotiate. So like I said, we need also to enhance our export promotion feasibility here. Gulf Food really is one big event that I think we need to elevate our presence. And then, of course, we have the Iran market, which is a key market for us. We've had issues since September last year, which it is being discussed at higher levels. And Iran is, I think, number 7 for us in our tea, as number 7 as an off-taker of our teas. So currently that market is closed, and it's one item that it's fair that we put in our best efforts to try and recover. If I talk about Iran, much of their businesses or product, Dubai actually serves as one of the key places where trading for Iran market is done because of the sanctions that have been placed by the US. So you find KTDA does up to 40% of their exports to Iran through Dubai, and even say payments happen through Dubai. So if we have challenges in Iran, then we also have challenges in exports that come to Dubai. So it's critical that we look onto these matters. I know it is an active item, but then UAE market remains an open market, a lucrative market for both the bulk teas, of course, through the DMCC, and now the retail channel through the many supermarkets and hypermarkets and the e-commerce that has really grown over the period. Bwana Anthony, I submit.
Thank you so much, Bwana Lawrence Delay, for the insightful market brief on UAE. I've not seen any more questions on the Q&A. I don't know if Bwana Birech was able to join from KTDA. Okay, Maxwell. Is Maxwell still around?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, there's a question on the issue of pricing. Why the prices for tea going down? What could be the issue? Is it something to do with the sustainability of the tea?
No. Prices of tea actually depend on the season itself and economics in terms of demand and supply. So right now we have a huge gap of supply and demand is quite low. In the whole world, there's an oversupply of tea for over 300 million kilos. So we are producing more than is actually being consumed in the whole world. It's just like any other business. Once you produce more and you're unable to, demand doesn't rise up, the prices will automatically go lower. So right now we are experiencing a season of a lower suppressed price, but the price is actually increasing slightly compared to last year on the same period. So we are selling at a higher price right now compared to last period, although I know the price look depressed right now, but if you compare it from last year, the price is actually increasing, although the demand hasn't necessarily increased. So it's a question of how do you match the two. And then when I talk about the season, right now we're in Ramadan season, or rather the Muslims are in Ramadan. So what happens is the consumption of tea actually is depressed. So Pakistan being our main client and Egypt, although it's still for export, we will find that right now they are not very active in the market. So you will find that we will have slightly depressed prices and quantity. So we will sell less right now, but once they come back from next week, we expect the prices to actually start increasing. But the good quality tea still get very good prices. So again, it's also a differentiation of the pricing itself, the quality itself. So if you give a good quality in the auction or in the trade, you will automatically get good prices. So various factors actually affect that pricing in the auction itself. Sustainability rarely comes into play.
Thank you, Bwana Maxwell. So, Bwana Birech is still around. Is he able to join from KTDA? We were expecting him. Let me apologize for exceeding the time. We were supposed to finish by 10:30, but I would like to thank you so much for joining us, especially the participants.
Anthony, let me just bring something up so that in case someone wishes to actually do tea trade.
Okay.
So if you are looking into venture into tea trade, the main factor that comes into play is taxes. And I'd like to give a free advice. If you want to do trade in terms of exports for tea, you need to actually buy the tea from the Mombasa Tea Auction. Reason is that when you're exporting tea that you have bought from the Mombasa tea auction, you're going to export that tea duty free, as opposed to if you're going to use another different channel to actually export the tea. So I'll advise anyone who wants to be a trader in tea for exports to register and start buying tea through the Mombasa tea auction so that they can enjoy the duty-free exports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bwana Maxwell, for that guide on doing business through the auction. I think we've come to the close of this tea webinar, and hopefully we will have many more. On my end, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Even Ambassador, I hope he's still with us, Ambassador. Karibu sana. All the commercial attaches.
I am still here with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for gracing us in this webinar and the support. Also, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Alice, Bwana Maxwell from EATA, and all the participants who joined us. On my end, all I can say is asanteni sana. And if there are any questions, please do indicate on the chat and we'll be able to respond through our partners. For my end, I think I'll just have to say asanteni sana, and I can close the meeting from now. Thank you so much. If anyone has anything to say before we close, the floor is yours. Okay, thank you so much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Anton.